Welcome into Dolphins Today. I am Tom Downey. We've got joint practice takeaways to begin today's show, plus some first unofficial, emphasis on unofficial, depth chart takeaways as well. Beginning with injury news. For the most part, pretty positive here for the Miami Dolphins. Several players making their return for joint practice today against the Atlanta Falcons. But there was a notable injury. Braylon Sanders suffering an apparent left knee injury, had to be carted off the field. He was down for several minutes. Sanders was unlikely to make the Dolphins roster, was fighting for a practice squad spot. Hopefully, he's okay, but we won't know more on that until later on in the process. Some other players who came back today for practice. Eric Ezukama, back along with DB/safety Deshaun Elliott. Trill Williams had the non-contact jersey off, so he's recovering nicely. Brandon Jones still has his on. Achane had a nice touchdown run, by the way, running over a defender. He was back. So too was backup linebacker Duke Riley. We will have a Dolphins-Falcons watch party for you guys on Friday, so don't miss out. Make sure you are subscribed at youtube.com/Dolphins News. We'll have some fun, have some enjoyment during the preseason game, so tune in. Don't miss out. All right, takeaway number 2. The defenses, both Atlanta and Miami, I think ruled the day over the offenses, which isn't that surprising. These joint practices do tend to favor defenses because it's not like you're running your best stuff on offense to a certain extent. The Dolphins defense, starting with the positives here, had a great showing against the offense of Atlanta. A lot of check down passes for the Falcons. They're taking away the big plays. Nothing major going on there. Xavier Howard fared well against Drake London. That's a good matchup for X, by the way. Falcons did not run the football that effectively. Again, you're not really doing full-on contact, so that does tend to favor the defense there. A couple would-be sacks. Again, you're not actually sacking players because you don't want injuries in joint practices here. Some notable players I'll make mention of who flashed per various reports. Christian Wilkins, Jaelan Phillips, Brandon Pili had a pretty solid day. That's a good sign as he fights for one of those last defensive tackle spots. And Verone McKinley capped things off nicely with what would have been about a 90-yard pick six. Was blown dead beforehand, but there was no one in front of McKinley, so that was going to be a touchdown. The Dolphins' offense, however, not so great. They struggled through the air. I have the rough stats that we'll get to here in a little bit, but it wasn't exactly their best showing. The O-line had issues. We'll get to the quarterback notes here later on. Bad snap again from Connor Williams. Liam Eichenberg continues to be a trouble point for me. The Dolphins' offense, even when Tua came back last year, some defenses kind of figured them out a little bit, and they struggled. They weren't very efficient through the air. I hope that is course-corrected this year, but bad scrimmage, and now maybe not your best showing in joint practices. So what's your concern level over the Dolphins' offense? Frankly, for the starters, these 2 days of practices are the best we're going to get to see out of them because you're not going to play them much in the preseason. So what's your concern level? It's the pinned comment on today's show. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there. 1 to 10 is your scale. Number 3, the quarterbacks were not that great. And that includes your starters and your backups. I'm consulting the notes here from Adam Beasley of Pro Football Network. I've seen some slightly modified ones elsewhere. Tua was 13 of 21 with a bad interception, 131 yards. So again, big plays were out there, but some of the consistency that really wasn't there down the stretch last season kind of reared its head again. Mike White was 5 of 11 for about 55 yards and a pick. Skylar Thompson, by the way, only threw 3 passes. A pretty good sign to me that what the Dolphins are doing is giving Mike White the edge over Skylar Thompson. We'll see if that changes tomorrow, but the quarterbacks just did not have their best stuff. One player who did was Tyreek Hill. I'm sure you saw the highlight reel play. It's Tyreek Hill against Trey Flowers, who's a journeyman corner, good size, but it's not ultra crazy fast, not that many are compared to Tyreek Hill. And Hill runs this vertical route. He's got Trey Flowers absolutely cooked, except it's not just a go route. It's actually supposed to be a deep in, a dig route, and Hill snaps it off and gets open twice, basically, against Trey Flowers. A very impressive route. Went for a big gain in drills. He's an awesome football player. Now, who do you think is the best player on the Dolphins roster? Tyreek Hill is a very valid answer. So get your answers in for me. Where else but the comment section? Drop who you think is the best player on the Dolphins roster. Back half-ish of today's show, we'll take a look at some of the depth chart takeaways from the first emphasis on unofficial depth chart from the Dolphins. And I have never been a fan of these because, frankly, they're just wrong a lot. Like they're not very accurate. They're not done by the team themselves. And Mike McDaniel speaking to me heart to heart with this quote, "Preseason depth charts are my nemesis." I love it, Mike. We're evaluating. Every day is important. I am of principle that players decide where they're at on the field. The last part's big fancy words for they're not very valuable. But we will react to some of the things because I've already seen it on social media. Overreactions, for example, by the way, Atlanta put theirs out today. Bijan Robinson is RB3. Yeah, that's not the case at all. Verone Achane, by the way, is listed as a third-team running back for the Miami Dolphins, behind the Gaskin-Ahmed duo. Let's be real. No, he's not. He's not your fifth running back on the roster. He's your third running back. By the way, Achane did have a nice touchdown run in practice today, running over a defensive back at the 1-yard line. So he ain't the fifth back, and technically behind Chris Brooks as well, which is just ridiculous. Now, if you want to bet on the Dolphins preseason game, if you want to bet on the NFL throughout the season, do with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Provided you are not an NFL player, do not bet. If you're watching and you're a football player, don't do it. You're going to get suspended. Otherwise, yeah, of course you can if you're a normal person like me, and I assume 99% of the people watching here. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code Dolphins125 gets you a 125% deposit bonus. Maybe go put $5 down of that deposit bonus on the Dolphins to win the AFC East. They are plus 300 behind the Bills, whose receiver got mad at their quarterback, and we kind of just brushed that off, which was really weird. The Jets, who they're still the Jets, and the Patriots way down there. Plus 300, you can bet on the Dolphins, or if you want to fade them, that's fine too. Maybe you'll do the old psych out, reverse psychology. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code Dolphins125. All right, number 2, Mike White over Skylar Thompson. That was what we saw at the joint practice today as well, with White getting more of the team drill reps over Skylar Thompson. So that was the expectation. That's why the Dolphins paid Mike White in free agency. But it does appear to be the reality right now for this Dolphins team. Tua's quarterback 1. Mike White, for now, is quarterback 2. Skylar Thompson is the third quarterback. No more James Blackman. He was released to make room for Perry Nickerson. So I think you'll see a good amount of Mike White in the first preseason game and about a half at minimum of Skylar Thompson in that first game against the Falcons. Who do you think will end up winning the backup quarterback battle job? MW for Mike White or ST for Skylar Thompson? Sound off in the comments. Isaiah Wynn was listed at left guard, which is what we've been doing on our depth chart, so that checks off that box. McDaniel was asked about it, basically saying he's been working at multiple spots. What's really going on, again, Dolphins media aren't allowed to say what the depth chart is. I find that really ridiculous. Like, it's just coaching paranoia. Like, they're going to find out the opposing teams are. It's okay. It's an Eichenberg versus Wynn battle at that side. There is some Robert Jones mixture going on there, maybe some Dan Feeney, especially if Connor Williams keeps snapping poorly. That left guard spot remains the trouble point for me. I would not be mad, I promise you, if Isaiah Wynn ends up earning that spot. Takeaway number 4, River Craycraft and Cedric Wilson are your backup wide receivers. Yeah, but are they? Dolphins went too deep on their wide receiver depth chart, which, it's 2023. You'll want a lot of 3 receiver sets. Braxton Berrios was on the third team. Robbie Chosen was further down. Eric Ezukanma was down. I would not read into that. I think that's seniority, basically. Well, these are the guys that were with us last year, then our free agent pickups. It's not really much to be read into there. I still think Craycraft is behind Berrios, Chosen, Ezukanma, and even Cedric Wilson in that battle for the receiver 3, 4, etc. spots. On the flip side, the secondary, again, 2 corners. Okay. Cam Smith was the 4th team corner. Eli Apple was the 5th team corner. Are they not going to make the team? No, of course not. this is just another, like Justin Bethel was ahead of those guys on the depth chart. It's a great example of it doesn't actually mean very much. Rookies tend to be far behind for whatever reason. Veterans that were recently signed are always behind, even if they're running much higher up on the depth chart in actual practices. So too long didn't pay attention to me. Don't read anything into the depth charts. We'll just use our eyes during the preseason games.